Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different. We're going to dismantle the floor you're standing on.
Not literally, I hope.
No, not physically, don't worry, but legally. We're looking at property ownership. And I have to be honest, when I first saw the source material for this, Chapter 1, Property Ownership and Land Use Controls, I thought, okay, this is going to be dry.
Sure. Dirt, bricks, mortgages.
Exactly. But the more I read, the more I realized that what we think of as owning something is actually this bizarre, invisible hallucination that we all just agree to believe in.
That is probably the most philosophical way I've ever heard someone describe real estate law, but, you're not wrong.
Right.
There is a massive disconnect between the physical reality of land, the dirt, the grass, the house, and the legal reality.
Because in my head, if I buy a house, I own the house. I own the atoms. I can paint it black. I can dig a hole to China, whatever I want.
But you can't.
But the text immediately slaps you in the face with this concept.
Yeah.
You don't own the thing. You own a bundle of rights.
That's the core metaphor you have to wrap your head around. In the eyes of the law, property isn't an object. It's a bundle of sticks.
Sticks?
Yeah, each stick represents a specific legal privilege. You have a stick for the right to possess it, a stick for the right to control it, a stick to enjoy it, legally speaking, and a stick to dispose of it, meaning sell it or will it away.
And the scary part, which we're going to get into, is that you don't always hold all the sticks. The bank holds some, your neighbors might hold some.
And the government holds a terrifying amount of them.
They absolutely do. And that's our mission today. We are going to decode this invisible web. We need to figure out why a bookshelf might legally be part of your house one minute and not the next.
And we need to understand the acronyms that give the government the power to literally wipe your ownership off the map.
Okay, let's start with the physical divide. The sources split everything into two buckets: real property and personal property. Now, real property is just real estate, right? Essentially. It's defined by two main traits. It's immovable and it's illiquid. You can't put land in your pocket and walk away.
Right.
Real property is the land, anything naturally attached to it, like trees, and anything humans have man-made attached to it, like buildings or fences.
Okay. And then there's personal property. The text used the term chattel, which sounds medieval.
It does, but it shares a root with cattle.
Oh, okay.
Think about cows. Cows move. Personal property chattel is movable if you can pick it up and take it with you. It's personal property.
That seems like a pretty bright line. House stays, cow moves. But then I got to the section on fixtures, and apparently that line is incredibly blurry.
This is where the lawsuits happen, isn't it?
I'm guessing so.
Millions of dollars are lost in real estate deals over this exact issue because people assume. A fixture is an item that was personal property, like a chandelier or a custom bookshelf, but it's been attached to the land in a way that legally turns it into real property.
So you buy a house, you walk in, and the beautiful crystal chandelier that sold you on the dining room is gone. And there's just a sad wire hanging from the ceiling.
Right. And the seller says?
Well, that was my grandmother's chandelier. It's personal property. And the buyer says, no, it was bolted to the ceiling. That's a fixture. It's part of the house.
So who wins?
Well, you don't flip a coin. The courts use a test. And because lawyers love acronyms, it's called the Maria test. M-A-R-I-A.
Okay, walk me through Maria. M is method of attachment.
Right. How is it attached? Is it just plugged into a wall? Probably personal property. Is it cemented into the foundation or, bolted to the wall? Probably a fixture.
So if removing it leaves a big hole.
If it causes damage, the law usually says it stays.
Okay, A is agreement.
This is the one that overrides everything else.
Yeah.
If you have a written contract that says the chandelier stays, it stays.
Ah.
It doesn't matter if it's held up by a piece of chewing gum, the contract is king.
So if you're buying a house, put it in writing. Don't assume.
Never, ever assume.
The R is relationship. This one surprised me. The law plays favorites.
It does, in a way. It favors a party that needs more protection. So between a buyer and a seller, courts usually favor the buyer. Between a landlord and a tenant, they might lean toward the tenant.
Okay. I say is intention.
This one's a bit subjective, but crucial. When you installed that thing, did you intend for it to be permanent? Did you pour concrete footings for your deck? That shows an intent to permanently improve the property.
And finally, the last A is adaptability.
Yeah, this one catches people off guard. Is the item custom made for the property? My favorite example is keys.
Keys.
A house key is small, metal, totally movable, but it is adapted specifically for that front door lock. It is useless anywhere else. Therefore, the key is a fixture. It stays with the house.
Wow. Okay, but there was one exception in the notes that felt like a trap. The trade fixture. This is for businesses, right?
Yes, and this is where that relationship factor comes in. Let's say you rent a space to open a pizza parlor. You bring in these massive industrial ovens. You bolt them to the floor, you run gas lines, you vent them through the roof. By the normal Mariah test, those are fixtures. They are never moving.
Right. They're part of the building now.
But if they were treated as normal fixtures, they would become the landlord's property when the lease ends.
And that would destroy the pizza business.
Exactly. So the law created trade fixtures. If an item is attached for the purpose of a tenant's trade or business, it remains personal property. The tenant can rip them out when they leave.
They just have to repair the damage.
They just have to patch the holes.
So if I bolt a bookshelf to my apartment wall, I might lose it to the landlord. But if I bolt a shelf to my bookstore wall to sell books, I get to keep it.
That's the distinction. We want to encourage commerce, so we let businesses keep their tools.
All right, let's move from the physical stuff to the invisible stuff. We established that ownership is a bundle of rights. But there was a whole section on encumbrances.
Which basically sounds like other people's rights to your stuff.
That's exactly what it is. An encumbrance is a burden on your title. It's like a barnacle attached to your ship. It might not sink the ship, but it slows you down and limits what you can do.
And the most common one is the easement. The right to enter.
Right.
Think of it as a non-possessory interest. Someone else has the right to use your land for a specific purpose, but they don't own it. The classic example is the shared driveway.
Which the text called an appurtenant easement.
Appurtenant just means runs with the land. Let's say you own a beachfront property, and the guy behind you has a house with no beach access. A previous owner granted him an easement to use your driveway to get to the water.
Okay. So if I buy that house.
You can't tell that guy to get lost.
Yeah.
The easement is attached to the land, not to you. You are the servient tenement. Your land is serving his.
And he's the dominant tenement.
He's dominating your driveway.
That terminology feels incredibly aggressive. I am the dominant tenement.
It's all about who benefits. But there's another type that's even more common. The easement in gross.
This isn't neighbor to neighbor.
No, this is usually a utility company, the power lines. The electric company has the right to run wires over your backyard. They don't own the land, and they don't own the property next door. They just have a personal right to be there.
And that's why you can't build a pool right under the power line.
They'd be interfering with their easement.
Now, here is the one that actually scared me. The prescriptive easement. This is the use it or lose it rule.
It's more like snooze and you lose. This is how you accidentally give away property rights.
Wow.
If someone uses your land openly, continuously, and without your permission for a set period of time in California, it's 5 years, they can go to court and get a permanent legal right to keep using it.
So let's say I have a vacant lot and the neighbors start using it as a shortcut to the park. I see them, I wave, I'm a nice guy, I don't say anything.
You are being a nice guy, but you are creating a legal disaster. If you don't give them permission, which would make it a revocable license, and you don't stop them, the law assumes you've abandoned your right to exclude them.
So after 5 years...
They own an easement. You can never build a fence there again.
That is wild. Being passive effectively changes your deed.
Property rights reward vigilance. If you sleep on your rights, they can just dissolve.
Let's talk about the other kind of barnacle. Liens. This is about money.
A liens is a financial anchor. It says, this property owes money. You can't sell the property and give a clean title until that money is paid.
We know mortgages are liens voluntary ones. But the involuntary ones, like the mechanic's lien, seem messy.
This is a nightmare scenario for homeowners. Let's say you hire a contractor to remodel your kitchen. You pay the contractor $50,000. He finishes the job. You're happy.
Okay, sounds good so far.
But unbeknownst to you, that contractor didn't pay the lumberyard for the wood. The lumberyard can file a mechanic's lien against your house.
Wait, but I already paid the contractor.
Doesn't matter. The lumber was used to improve your property. The supplier has a right to be paid from the value of that property. You might have to pay twice.
That seems incredibly unfair.
It feels that way, which is why when you do big renovations, you're supposed to get lien releases from all the subcontractors. But most people don't know that.
Note to self, get lien releases. So we have neighbors taking our driveway, contractors putting liens on the kitchen, but there is a bigger boss level here.
Always. The government.
The text uses the acronym PETE. P-E-T-E. These are the 4 powers the government holds over every inch of private land.
These are the sticks in the bundle of rights that you never get to hold. The government keeps these forever.
P is for police power. Now, this isn't just cops showing up.
No, and frankly, police power is the single biggest factor in the value of real estate. Police power is the right of the state to regulate land use for the public health, safety, and welfare.
The biggest example being zoning.
Zoning controls everything. You could own 10 acres of prime land, but if the police power says it's zoned for open space, you cannot build a shopping mall. That decision can swing the value of that land from $10 million to $100,000 overnight.
And there's no compensation for that, right?
Correct. That's just regulation.
Now, contrast that with eminent domain.
This is different. This is the government actually taking the title. They need the land for a highway, a school, or a park. They have the power to force you to sell.
But they have to pay you.
Yes, the Constitution requires just compensation.
Which is what? Fair market value?
Well, that's the idea. But if you've lived in that house for 40 years, fair market value rarely feels fair. You can fight the price, but you usually can't fight the taking itself.
Okay. T is taxation, obviously.
The government is a partner in every piece of real estate. If you don't pay your property taxes, they don't just send you a bill.
They sell your house.
They sell your house.
Oh.
It's a lien that jumps to the front of the line, ahead of the mortgage, ahead of everything.
And finally, the last E, a sheet. This one sounds like a cheat code.
It comes from a word meaning to fall back. So the state's fail-safe.
Hmm.
We operate on a system where all land must be owned by someone.
Right.
So what happens if someone dies, leaves no will, and has literally no living relatives, no heirs?
It feels like it should just be free land. Finders keepers.
Nope. The property escheats to the state. The government becomes the heir of last resort.
So the house always wins.
The house always wins.
Well, let's shift gears to time. We've talked about space and rights, but the text also organizes ownership by how long you have it. These are the estates.
Right. An estate isn't a mansion. It's just the legal term for your interest in the land. The two big categories are freehold, which is ownership, and leasehold, which is, renting.
Freehold seems straightforward. You own it.
Mostly. You have fee simple absolute, which is the gold standard. You own it forever. But then you have this weird category called life estates.
This one felt like a soap opera waiting to happen.
It usually is. A life estate means you own the property, but only for the duration of a specific person's life. Say a man remarries late in life. He wants his new wife to have a place to live, but he wants his kids from his first marriage to eventually get the house.
Okay, I see where this is going.
He grants his wife a life estate. She is the life tenant. She can live there, rent it out, keep the profits, but she can't sell it. And the moment she dies, her rights evaporate.
And the kids?
They hold the remainder interest. They are literally just waiting.
That creates a terrible dynamic.
Yeah.
The stepmom wants to spend zero on maintenance, and the kids are watching the roof leak, furious, but they can't do anything yet.
It's a recipe for family conflict, but it's a very common estate planning tool.
Then we have leasehold estates. Renting. The text broke this down into 4 types, and I want to focus on the one that sounds the most painful. Estate at sufferance.
The holdover tenant. This is a legal limbo. Imagine a tenant whose lease ended on December 31st. It's now January. They haven't left. They aren't paying rent.
So they're trespassing.
Technically, no, because they originally entered with permission. They aren't a trespasser, but they aren't a tenant anymore either. They are there at the sufferance of the landlord.
And the landlord has to go through a formal eviction to get them out.
Exactly. It's the worst case scenario for a property owner.
I have to ask about the trivia here because I love weird numbers. Why is an urban lease in California limited to 99 years? Why not 100?
It's historical baggage.
Yeah.
It goes back to common law concerns about feudalism. Essentially, they didn't want people tying up land forever without technically selling it. A lease that's too long starts to look like ownership.
So they just drew an arbitrary line.
An arbitrary line at 99 years.
Okay, we've covered what rights you have, who can take them, and how long they last. But we haven't answered a basic question. How do we know where the land is?
The legal description. And no, the red house by the creek doesn't count. You need precision.
Right.
If you are off by 3 inches, you're building your fence on your neighbor's land, and we're back to lawsuits.
The oldest method mentioned was meets and bounds.
This is the walk the perimeter method. It starts at a point of beginning, maybe a large rock, and then gives you instructions. Go north, 30 degrees for 200 feet, then east 90 degrees.
It sounds like a treasure map.
It is, but it's hard to track if the rock moves or the tree dies. So for most of us living in suburbs, we use lot, block, and tract.
Which is just looking at a map.
Right. The developer files a subdivision map with the county. It divides the land into numbered blocks and lots. Your deed just says Lot 4, Block 2. Simple and short.
But for the big picture, the huge tracts of land, we use the government survey system.
Yes, the Public Land Survey System. A giant checkerboard draped over the country. It uses townships, which are 6 miles by 6 miles, and sections, which are 1 mile by 1 mile.
And the text mentioned that here in California, this whole grid is pinned down by 3 specific mountains.
The baselines and meridians. Everything in Northern California is measured relative to Mount Humboldt. Central California uses Mount Diablo. Southern California uses Mount San Bernardino.
I love that. If you buy a condo in LA, legally, its location is defined by its distance from a mountain in San Bernardino.
It connects the abstract legal grid to the actual geography of the state.
Speaking of condos, let's clarify something. Visually, a condo and a PD, a planned unit development, often look identical.
Totally.
Yeah.
Attached walls, shared driveway.
But legally, they are totally different.
Completely. Think of a condo as a box of air. You own the paint on the walls, the carpet on the floor, and the air volume inside. You do not own the building structure or the land underneath it.
So if the roof leaks in a condo...
That's the homeowners association's problem.
Yeah.
Everyone shares the costs of the roof, the walls, the land.
And a PU.
In a PU, you own the structure and you own the dirt underneath it. You own the specific lot. The common areas like the pool are owned by the HOA, but you own your footprint.
So in a PU, if the roof leaks...
Get your checkbook. That's your roof.
Last topic, but maybe the most contentious, water.
As the old saying goes, whiskey is for drinking, water is for fighting.
The text lists 3 types of rights: riparian, literal, and appropriative.
It's all about where the land is. Riparian rights belong to land that borders moving water, a river or a stream. Think R for river, R for riparian.
So you can use the water.
You can use it, but you can't dam it up and stop the neighbors downstream from getting any. It's a right to use it, not to own it.
Then littoral rights. L for lake.
Or L for large body of water, oceans, lakes. You own the land up to the high water mark. Again, you can use the water, but you can't drain the lake.
And finally, appropriative rights. This is for people who don't have water on their land.
This is the government stepping in again. You can apply for a permit to divert water for a beneficial use, like farming. This isn't based on land ownership. It's based on who got in line first. First in time, first in right.
Which feels like a perfect place to wrap up because it brings us back to the start. Whether it's water permits or easements, ownership isn't about sitting on a rock and saying mine.
No, it's about navigating a massive, complex system of rules. We started this talking about the bundle of rights. I hope now you see that the bundle is fragile. Sticks can be removed by the bank, by your neighbors, and certainly by the government.
We hold the title, but the state holds the power.
Precisely. And that's our provocative thought for you. If the government holds police power, eminent domain, taxation, and escheat Pete over every inch of land, and ownership is just a bundle of rights defined by law, is private property, truly private.
Or are we all just holding a temporary title, subject to the will of the state?
Something to think about.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.